Uglydolls were created in February 2001. At the peak of their popularity, they won Specialty Toy of the Year in 2006 and continued their popularity throughout the late 2000s. I loved Uglydolls as a kid. I had one named Cinco. I loved Uglydolls so much I wrote a letter to their headquarters with crayon drawings proposing my Uglydoll designs. A few months later, they wrote me back saying they don't take fan requests, and they sent me a few stickers. I wish I still had those. The point is, they made an Uglydolls movie in 2019. Let's talk about it. And did I forget to mention? This is a musical.
I'm ugly and I'm proud.
Starting off with the characters, let's talk about our protagonist, Moxie, played by Kelly Clarkson. She is basically Emmett at the beginning of the Lego movie, believing in only positivity, thinking everything is awesome, and too naive for her own good. This is the best character in the movie because she is the only one with motivations and takes actions with those motivations. Well, maybe she's not the best. We'll talk about the best character later. Then there's Lucky Bat, who they so clearly wanted to be played by Ken Jeong, but instead they probably just couldn't afford him because they hired Kelly Clarkson. So they just got another Asian American actor to voice him. And now I know COVID didn't exist when they were making this movie, but making the only Asian character a bat. Then there's Ox, who's mayor of Uglyville. I think that's what the town is called. And he's played by Blake Sheldon. And Blake Sheldon can't act. But that's okay, right? Because he must sing a lot of songs. No. He sings one verse in the beginning song and another verse at the end. That's all they do with him. And he has way more speaking time than singing time, and that's just not enough to justify hiring someone who can't act. Then there's Ugly Dog, who's played by Pitbull. Get it? Pitbull plays a dog. This is essentially just Pitbull as an animated dog. He wears a blazer and sunglasses, and at one point he does Gangnam Style to his own song. He's supposed to be the ladies' man of the group, and that's all he has to him. At least he's fun to watch. Then there's Bobo, who has absolutely no personality traits except looking like they wanted James Corden to voice him. Really, tell me the difference between these two pictures. That's right, there are none. Then there's Wanda Sykes. I don't remember the name of her character because she's just Wanda Sykes. She plays herself. Her only function as a character is to say, "I told you so." At the beginning, she's like, "Don't go on this big adventure, it's scary." And then they go on the big adventure and it's scary. And she says, "I told you so." And that's the only line she has, and she repeats it about a few hundred times. Then there's Lou, the best freaking character in the movie because it's voiced by Nick Jonas. This is by far the best performance of the movie because, I don't know, maybe it's played by an actor. But he can also sing, and that leads him to have the best song of the movie, even though they're all bad. In his character, he's the villain. He's the pretty boy who's ugly dolls can't be real dolls because I'm pretty. And that's what his character is, and it's just Nick Jonas, and he can act. So good job, Nick. You really carry the movie on this one. Then there's the girl with the glasses. I don't remember her name, but basically she wears glasses, so she's ugly. That's it. So basically, I bet you're wondering, well, only two of these people actually have personalities. The protagonist and the antagonist. So what the heck do the other characters do? That's a great question. Basically, they're all comedic relief following around one protagonist, and they just take turns saying their little quips, but they're not funny at all. I'll get to that later. So it just creates a really annoying environment where there's only one character who actually wants something, and then about 4 or 5 other characters just following her around because they're friends, I guess. And this would be good if they all had personalities. Pitbull is the ladies' man, Wanda Sykes is a sarcastic skeptic, but then Lucky Bat and Bobo add nothing. They can just be fused into one character, really. Or none of them could even be there and the movie would still work. of just Moxie going off on her own, doing this adventure.
Good! Say it louder.
I'm ugly and I'm proud.
Alright, I know what you're wondering. What's this big adventure you keep talking about? Let me tell you, the plot. So basically, Moxie's like, I wonder what's outside Uglyville. And then everyone's like, don't go outside Uglyville. And then she does anyway. And then all of her friends follow her just 'cause. And then basically she ends up in this pretty doll land where everyone's perfect. And Nick Jonas is kind of their leader, even though it's really vague. From there on out, the plot just turns into Monsters University, where they just compete, trying to prove themselves worthy of being real dolls, much like how Mike competes to be a real scarer. The movie even has the climax of them going through a mock house in the middle of a football stadium surrounded by cheering people. They're not even trying to hide it at this point. But the plot twist is Nick Jonas is a prototype doll, so he can never leave. While all the other dolls go and leave and find kids, he's stuck here, so he gets really jealous, and that's why he's so mean. And do you think he learns a lesson at the end when the Uglydolls prove themselves to be dolls, and he's like, oh my gosh, my character is changing, and I have different beliefs now? No, they just throw him in a washing machine as a punishment, and that's the last we see him. He doesn't learn anything.
Louder!
I'm ugly and I'm proud.
And then there's the jokes of the movie. This movie has two different kinds of humor, observational and self-aware. The observational humor is much like, Seinfeld's classic, oh, what's the deal with airplane food? It's food on an airplane. Crazy. So basically, observational humor is just observing things around you and pointing them out as weird. It doesn't take much effort. But then the other kind of humor, the self-aware humor, which is prevalent a lot more, is just extremely bad because the humor just points out how bad the movie is, which lets you know that the writers know what they're doing and they don't try and fix it. For example, there are these robots that go around the pretty town, and they're basically like police officers, like enforcing the law, which is kind of confusing because Nick Jonas is supposed to be the leader, but then the robots are above him. It doesn't make any sense. But basically, at one point in the movie, these robots are just explaining exposition because they need to. And then one of the characters says, thanks, exposition bot. And then in the credits, they're literally called exposition bot because, get it? They're a robot that lays out the exposition. And the writers know that just straight up spitting out exposition is bad, but they're like, we can just cover it up by calling it an exposition bot and call it a joke. That's not really how it works. At the end of the movie, Wanda Sykes has a line where it's like, how long has it been? A day? A month? 87 minutes? Because the movie is 87 minutes long. And yeah, I guess it's kind of funny, but at the same time, the writers are just pointing out how they didn't establish how long the Uglydolls have been in Prettyville. So instead of explaining how long they've been there, they just make it a joke that the writers are lazy. But the writers are recognizing that there is a problem and not fixing it. And then there are other jokes that they're just not jokes. I'm sure you're all aware of the rule of threes in comedy, where you set up something twice, and then the third time it's different, and it subverts the expectation, therefore causing laughter. So watch this clip. Yeah, that was the same thing 3 times in a row. All they had to do is make the third time different, and it at least would have been a structured joke. I mean, maybe some 5-year-old kid would find it funny, but instead they just repeat the same thing 3 times in a row, and that's not comedy.
I'm ugly and I'm proud.
Well, I said this was a musical, so I guess it's time to talk about the songs. There's the opening song, which is basically every opening song ever, where the protagonist wakes up and then starts singing. They leave their house, and then they encounter all the other villagers and characters, and it's basically Everything is Awesome from the Lego movie, or the Bonjour song from Beauty and the Beast, whatever it's called. It's just that. Then there's the villain song, which is the best song because Nick Jonas sings it. I don't know if I'm biased towards Nick Jonas, but I think, objectively, he's the best actor in the cast. So therefore, I think, he has the best act. He just is the best. So, and the song is about how he's better than everyone, and I believe it. Then when there's like a montage of like the Uglydolls like training to be real dolls or whatever, and they play a Pentatonics song. Like I thought these were original songs, which they are, all except for this one. And it's Pentatonics when you have Kelly Clarkson and Blake Sheldon in your cast, and instead of using their talent as singers, because they're really not actors, you use Pentatonics instead, because the kids like Pentatonics. The kids don't know who Blake Sheldon is. It's so stupid. But even stupider is the This Is Me song from The Greatest Showman. I forget what it's called, like Unbreakable, the most basic name ever. And basically, it's Moxie and the girl with the glasses singing about how it's okay to be ugly. Even though, like, glasses don't make you ugly. Here, let's compare the two songs.
There's always gonna be someone trying to take you down. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down. Be someone trying to take you down.
Then there's the closing number where everyone's happy and whatever, it's the closing number. And then apparently there's a makeover song, which I forgot even happened, but they sing about getting a makeover, which is one of the only like structured jokes in the whole movie, is they spend all this time singing about being pretty and getting a makeover, and then at the end of the song they're still ugly, which, is it like funny enough to make someone laugh? No, but is it like a structured joke with a setup and punchline? Yes. So, good job, Uglydolls movie.
I am ugly and I'm proud! I'm ugly and I'm proud!
In conclusion, I'm not sure how one would fix this to make it a good movie without rewriting everything, and that just makes me wonder, can an Uglydolls movie even be good? The answer, I think, is yes, because you can make a movie about anything and it can be good with the right story and characters and directing and animation. But a movie about Uglydolls made in 2019, does that have the potential to be good? Probably not, because everyone sitting there is just wondering what Uglydolls even are, because the audience is for kids probably born after 2010. And I'm not saying that kids' movies automatically are bad because they're kids, but Uglydolls are just so not relevant anymore. They just go back to just make an original movie, like Littlefoot. I don't know, like that's an original movie made for kids. It's probably about the same quality as this movie. Why did you just have to bring Uglydolls into it? I don't... Even like an Uglydolls movie that was released in like 2009, that would have been better than this, because there was different humor in 2009, and they didn't just show Pitbull doing Gangnam Style and expect kids to laugh back then. The Uglydolls movie 2019 is a product of its time, and hopefully it will never happen again. But knowing everything, it probably will. See you in the next video.
Is that what he calls it?